This posting came after the former Home Affairs Minister faced allegation that he authorized and managed a death squad that operated in the city and had used serving police ranks and others as members of that squad. Then President Jagdeo established a commission of inquiry into the allegations against the minister who stepped down. Former Chief Justice Ian Chang chaired that commission and found that the commission did not receive any credible evidence that Gajraj was involved.
Under the PPP, the Guyana Police Force has become a national security risk and a compromised entity. Recent events involving the Guyana Police Force and its top leadership has increased public concerns that under the PPP, the Guyana Police Force is fast becoming a national security risk.
You know, a lot of us educated women, we are some of the most dumbest fucking women. We, the educated and accomplished women, we are some of the dumbest fucking women when it comes to love, because, you know, we live for love. We would take a man that ain't doing well, that ain't doing nothing with his life, and we would think that, you know what, we could make it happen, and, you know, we live for love.
Bacchus said the drawers of the desk had large sums of money from which the squad were paid for jobs. It also had drawers filled with ammunition and guns stood in the corner in a trunk. He said he was told at the time that the weapons were from the police and later understood this to be those assigned to the Presidential Guard. Bacchus, in confessing that he was a member of the squad, said that it was formed in response to the spiraling crime wave in the aftermath of the 2002 jailbreak. He also said that the death squad had been responsible for numerous executions during 2003 and 2004.
Other security and policing agencies, both local and foreign, intentionally bypass or ignore it. Crimes allegedly committed by government ministers and politically connected persons are swept under the carpet.
And then tomorrow, the same man end up breaking your heart. You live for love, you did so much, you make so much a sacrifice with him. And when he build life and he feel he accomplishing life, he left you and he gone and he takes some other woman to live with. A woman that can't struggle with him, a woman that can't do nothing for him.
Welcome back to The Flight. Hit that subscription button, buddy, and stay updated with everything that's trending in Guyana and the diaspora. Thanks.
This posting came after the former Home Affairs Minister faced allegation that he authorized and managed a death squad that operated in the city and had used serving police ranks and others as members of that squad. Then President Jagdeo established a commission of inquiry into the allegations against the minister who stepped down. Former Chief Justice Ian Chang chaired that commission and found that the commission did not receive any credible evidence that Gajraj was involved. This exoneration came even after the man who identified Gajraj as the person who managed the squad, George Bacchus, was killed before he could have given evidence to the commission of inquiry. Bacchus died on June 24, 2004. The commission wrapped up its inquiry shortly after. On June 8, Bacchus spoke out of being part of the death squad and named other members as Axel Williams, who is now dead, Sean Hines, among others, as members. He said that he was an informant to the squad. Bacchus's allegations came after his brother Shafiq was killed. He had claimed that the death squad had mistakenly killed his brother for him. It was Bacchus who detailed the office at Gajraj's house where he said the nerve center of the operation was. He described for a small group of journalists the layout of the compound, the office and the desk. Bacchus said the drawers of the desk had large sums of money from which the squad were paid for jobs. It also had drawers filled with ammunition and guns stood in the corner in a trunk. He said he was told at the time that the weapons were from the police and later understood this to be those assigned to the Presidential Guard. Bacchus, in confessing that he was a member of the squad, said that it was formed in response to the spiraling crime wave in the aftermath of the 2002 jailbreak. He also said that the death squad had been responsible for numerous executions during 2003 and 2004.
Advertise with us and put your product, project, or campaign in front of millions of viewers all over the world and in Guyana. WhatsApp us on 347-762-6665 or contact us via our website, Delta9 Media. Both contacts are on the screen. That number again, 347-762-6665.
Bacchus said he left the squad after one of the 2002 prison escapee, Sean Brown, was killed. Since then, according to him, the squad had turned executioners for hire. With Gajraj's death over the weekend, there are now few people alive who would be able to shed any light on the then state officials' involvement in the death squad, since he, Gajraj, would have been key to most of the information, either to contradict them or confirm them.
Good. Yes, so that one was a lengthy one, but I had to play that one. I really did have to play it so that we can be reminded when this Jagdeo goes on his press conference to speak. We have to remind him of this. He was the president at that time when Gajraj was his Home Affairs Minister, and Gajraj, it is alleged that he was heading the Ntom Squ. And there we had the Bacchus brother George, who spoke out and he said he was part of this squad. And then because apparently he knew too much, Paul, they killed him. They went to kill him, but they mistook his brother for him, killed his brother, and then he was subsequently killed. Let's talk.
In his bed. And let me tell you this. George Bacchus, Bumbole, I think he was called. When he gave his when he made the revelation, and how he described, he was able to describe the office of the office at his residence, right? He was able to describe everything. He was very, very credible. He was credible in giving descriptions and all that took place. And as I said, you have to get international pressure for Jagdeo, the then president, to set up a commission of inquiry. And as you rightly pointed out, the main victim, George Bacchus, was killed in his bed in Princess Street, I think he lived. He was killed in his bed before he could have given the evidence. I remember that incident very, very well. That was in 2004. I had just been transferred from Borbis to Georgetown when I got a call earlier morning of this murder, and I turned up at the scene. Very, very credible. Bacchus' evidence was, at least his story was, but he did not get to give that before the Commission of Inquiry. He was executed.
Now, Paul, Jagdeo is the person who speaks all the time about credibility and who don't have credibility and who don't. Jagdeo at this time should be putting a bag over his head when he wants to walk the street. He should not even be walking the street, because you look at it, under Jagdeo's presidency, all this kind of foolishness happened. You had the Ntom Squ, we had the death squad. You remember Fraser? You remember Toots? You remember what did they strong upon? I can't even remember his name. All these guys were part of this squad, and that's Mirai and all of them, and that squad reigned terror in Guyana. That was the squad that when your son was going, even if he had to step on the bridge, you were there looking at him because you were fearful that your son wouldn't return home. And so, viewers, you have to remember when Jagdeo, they come out there to tell you that they care and they love you, they must tell us why Shaka Blair was killed. They must tell us about the jailbreak. Jagdeo is disgraceful. He doesn't have any credibility. They must tell us what about Gajraj when the criminals were living right next to Gajraj. Paul, you remember that?
Yep, right next to him is where the nest of the criminals was.
And then there was an allegation that he was renting the house for them, and why he had allowed Dale Moore and them to break out of prison because they had some arrangement with them, but then it went haywire. I'm not sure if that is credible, but that was the talk out there. And so when I hear Jagdeo sitting at his press conference with his mouth corner white and all kind of thing and talking, oh, Paul Slow, and that one Coretta McDonald, I sometimes wonder whether this man, there's a saying that says, who the gods wishes to destroy, they first make them mad. Jagdeo is mad at this time. I am convinced that Jagdeo is mad at this time. Because if we were to play some of the tapes and you listen to what Jagdeo was saying back then when he was president, when he served as opposition leader, and what he is saying now, something got to be wrong with that man. Paul, I know I have a lot of footages, a lot of videos for us to look at today, tonight, so we can comment on them. Let's play this other one.
I can't take that. I can't live with that. I could only take with me on why responsible. Me responsible for nothing, me got nothing to do with that.
What are you responsible for?
What are I responsible for? Years ago they said I was in some killing squad. I can't deny that. I would not sit here and deny that. If I wasn't a part of killing squad, this country wouldn't have got law and order and stop to come to some thing, because they were Sean Brown and Dale Moore and what these people name? Chip Cheat and all these guys who used to.
Are you talking about the same Phantom Squad?
We talking about the Phantom and Dead Squad is two different squads, I don't know. People get them mixed up. There's a Phantom and there was a Dead Squad. A Phantom, I understand it.
Which one were you
I was in a Dead Squad.
Dead Squad. Who
Right?
was your boss?
Right? Well, the boss was a man named Axel Williams who I work under. When these guys, late in the night, you would see fire, people burn up, people in car and the seawall and these things. And we used to go after these people, including the police, not we alone. The police was a part of it. We used to get guns from the police, Travis. I used to go and play for guns from CID headquarters, a machine gun. So this thing is not no one-sided affair, champion. Feel well, this thing is I operating for me on, I mean Axel Williams operating for me on. We was guided and being in communication with senior people from CID headquarters.
Anybody from the past government?
I didn't catch that. Repeat that.
Anybody from the past government would have, had, when I said links or had direct input into the death squad?
Well, I can tell you this. All my orders came from CID headquarters. And there's evidence to this day. I have communication with me and people. Communicating, saying what it needs to be done. And how it needs to be done. The kind of guns that need to use. And what mustn't be done and how you must do it.
Wow.
Very damning. Very damning.
Paul, the police was involved.
Yeah.
You hear the man saying? The police was involved. He used to collect weapons from CID headquarters. What Barra Jagdeo could tell us?
He was the
What
president
can
of the
Barra
time.
Jagdeo tell us?
He was the president of the
He was the president at that time. The young man is saying there that the police were involved. They used to collect the guns and they used to get the calls and they were told what type of weapon to use. I mean, what can these people tell us? This is a man who was admitted that he was part of the death squad. So we had the death squad and we had the phantom squad. Two squads. Death squad and phantom squad. We gotta find out who was in charge of the phantom squad. Because he's saying he was part of the death squad. He and Axel Williams. I know at one time Fraser and Mirai, they used to be part of, well, I know is what they used to be part of, if it's the death or the phantom. And then we had the whole Roger Khan scenario. So I don't know. Maybe it was a mix-up story possibly. But Paul, what can we say?
Well, what we can say, it was terrible. I can tell you 20-something policemen were killed during that period. Again, I see Barra Jagdeo was the president. Floyd McDonald was the commissioner of police. And a
Mind
lot
you,
of,
mind you, Paul. Careful how you say the
and you
man,
say
Donald.
you're not related, and I
He's
accept
not
that.
related to me by any
You're not
chance.
related. But yeah, those are the facts, and that was known. That was known every day. Bodies turning up around the place. People get different numbers about it. About person's skill. Some people say 1,400. Some people say not high as that. And what happened? Nothing. Only I think sometime this year or maybe last year, the UNHCR mentioned it and called for a thorough inquiry. And at one of his press conferences in the past few months, Jagdeo, I have the statement somewhere, said we're going to have an inquiry into this thing, that he said so. And I said, if you're going to have an inquiry, then it has to be an international panel. You can't put Jagdeo and the PPP to establish an inquiry to investigate what took place during the reign of the PPP. That is conflict of interest. In my mind, conflict of interest. But these things, up to now, people are grieving. Up to now, people have disappeared, cannot be found. Families grieving over the fact that they weren't able to get closure, right? And it was during the period when Jagdeo was president of Guyana. He comes now and he says all kind of things. And I'm glad those things are played back for people to understand what took place then. Because somehow, most of us, perhaps during that period, many of the younger ones would not have been born or they can't remember those things. So we have got to make sure that those things are highlighted to remind people what took place during that period. Self-imposed curfews, self-imposed from the time the place started to get dark, people are coming into their rooms, right? Nobody ventured out. You had the murder of the own Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Agriculture. Not a single investigation into that thing. On the anniversary of a year, Mr. Saar's family will write and they will lament the fact that there is no closure, there is no proper inquiry. And Jagdeo sits there and pontificates every Thursday. Today, because I think tomorrow is Diwali, I understand that he had a press conference, so-called press conference.
One love, Delta9 family. Welcome back to the flight. And thanks again for flying, Delta. Now, these situations that you hear Top Cop and the Honorable Miss McDonald getting into right here, these things with this Ntom Squ, it happened a good while ago, you know. At least, let me say 15 to 20 years ago. This situation is going down, right? Now, the fact that it happened so long and so many other things happen after it, it's very impactful. But the thing is this, the persons who were around at that time, the persons who were directly affected, the persons who actually were living in Guyana at that time and experienced it, are the ones, to be honest with you, that need to kick up the most steam and dust behind this situation so persons could start noticing and recognizing just how impactful this incident was and start looking into it in a real way. Remember, in this whole world, everybody got things that they're dealing with. They got things happening all over the world. And everybody only got 24 hours in a day to deal with not just their situation in their corner of the world where they're there, but to deal with other things that persons might bring to them that they have the authority to intervene and deal with. I want to talk about this. I'm talking about all the international policing forces, all the countries and different people that we hoping would intervene and deal with this thing from an international standpoint. But what's going on the ground? Where are the people them that were in Guyana living through the Ntom Squ and Death Squad times them? Who's kicking up the real dust and real steam to make sure things go in the way that it should? And people who were involved allegedly are not now a part of the same team to solve the same crimes then that allegedly they were a part of. If we, the persons that are citizens and natives in that country, don't make sure that we keep this on the front burner and make sure that there is some solution and justice in this matter, then guess what? We stand the risk of dealing with this problem here in a bigger and a worse way in the future. Because guess why? When people get away with things like this, they think and they are now empowered to continue doing things just like that or worse. And as we listen to the Honorable Mr. Paul right now, give us some insights as to 20 years later, where the policing force is now. We could understand how when you left a wound to fester, what does come out of it? It don't get better. Anything left itself goes to chaos. And the real ones who are in to understanding certain things in masonry understand what I just said right there. Anything left itself goes to chaos. So if we leave this situation here to solve itself, everybody say, no, this long ago, phantom thing by me getting in there. Here we're going on here we're going on there in fear. You got more than that to fear because it's going to continue and worse things going to happen as it go down the road. But guess what? We can hear right now from the Honorable Mr. Paul. And he is going to give us the insights as to present day what's going on with the force.
Under the PPP, the Guyana Police Force has become a national security risk and a compromised entity. Recent events involving the Guyana Police Force and its top leadership has increased public concerns that under the PPP, the Guyana Police Force is fast becoming a national security risk and a diminished and compromised crime-fighting force. Top officers are allegedly involved in various crimes. The force itself is the source of tip-offs and cover-ups in service of criminals. Other security and policing agencies, both local and foreign, intentionally bypass or ignore it. Crimes allegedly committed by government ministers and politically connected persons are swept under the carpet. The appointment of the police commissioner is still a constitutional breach, and public trust in the police force is at all-time low and dropping. Guyanese only have to glance at the news headlines and editorials to grasp the full extent of the crisis in the Guyana Police Force. For instance, Kaichor News headline of the 4th of September 2024, senior cop fingered in massive cocaine bust at Matthews Ridge. This should have resulted in an investigation. There was none. Stabrook News editorial of the 14th of September, the police had notably not been present during the Joint Guyana Defense Force, CANU DEA, on September 1st at Matthews Ridge, a clear indication that the Guyana Police Force is not trusted by other crime-fighting institutions. Kaichor News headline of the 6th of October, senior cop accused of sharing police intelligence with suspects in Brick's abduction case, a clear insinuation that the Guyana Police Force is complicit in crime. Demerara Wave of the 18th of October, Assistant Police Commissioner Brutus faces hundreds of charges involving almost Guyana $1 billion. The latest news is that he has been slapped with 30 charges. And as is known, we continue to maintain on good legal grounds that the appointment of Clifton Hicken as police commissioner would be unconstitutional and yet another display of disrespect by the PPP for the rule of law. Hicken is unfit to be commissioner of police. These developments at the top of the police force no longer surprise the Guyanese public, nor does the PPP's comfort with the situation. The PPP government continues to pretend as much as it could that the Guyana Police Force is a well-functioning institution. But the Guyanese people, as with so many other matters, are not fooled by PPP political spin and self-delusions. The PPP knows that the Guyana Police Force is failing the people of Guyana, but the PPP's own involvement in crime has made it impossible for it to implement needed reforms. On the specific issue of Assistant Police Commissioner Brutus, many Guyanese are rightfully questioning how is it possible for any citizen, much less a politically exposed person like the Assistant Commissioner of Police, to amass almost $1 billion of questionable resources without setting off money laundering or proceeds of crime red flags. Were the required suspicious activities reports compiled and presented to those in authority? If so, were they deliberately buried to conceal these potential proceeds of crime? At best, this means that the integrity and effectiveness of Guyana's anti-money laundering and proceeds of crime infrastructure is in serious doubt. And at worst, this could mean the entire system has been compromised by the PPP. Such a widespread failure raises the prospect of Guyana once again becoming blacklisted, which would cripple our financial system and economy. An investigation of this vulnerability needs to be conducted, and the system revamped to prevent such lapses. The fundamental and comprehensive reforms needed to overhaul the police force, like so much else in Guyana, demand that all political forces that desire change must work assiduously to defeat the PPP at the 2025 general and regional elections. Since the crisis of governance in Guyana cannot be addressed by the present government, since it is one of the main sources of the extant crisis.
Well, after listening to all of them allegations there, after listening to all of those allegations, but this one in corruption and everything was going on in the country right now as it relates to crime, the policing force and all of that, one might believe that there's nothing but gloom and gloom in the sunny land of many waters, one of the most wealthiest countries in the world. But then we got to make sure that we end this video with a beautiful voice, coming from a beautiful person, coming from a real place, because Guyana is not only gloom and doom. We have some of the most beautiful women in the world, and you're going to hear from one of them right now as she gives you just some insights from a Guyanese woman perspective, and I'm going to let her speak right now. And if you haven't already, buddy, hit that subscription button so that you can get your return ticket next time this flight is taking off.
I did some self-reflection this morning on life, and I realized, a lot of us educated women, we are some of the most dumbest fucking women. We, the educated and accomplished women, we are some of the dumbest fucking women when it comes to love, because, we live for love. We would take a man that ain't doing well, that ain't doing nothing with his life, and we would think that, we could make it happen, and, we live for love. And then tomorrow, the same man end up breaking your heart. You live for love, you did so much, you make so much a sacrifice with him. And when he build life and he feel he accomplishing life, he left you and he gone and he takes some other woman to live with. A woman that can't struggle with him, a woman that can't do nothing for him. And these are things that we see very often. Now, I want y'all be sending my exes them videos and always think that I'm talking about them, because generally I just use my experience to address what I see happening in life generally. So my posts are not, tailored to any specific person. I want to make that very clear. So Some of us educated women, what we do, we choose men based on love because you know what, we feel we're accomplished. We feel that, you know, we got it going on and we don't need to have a man that will provide for us because we can comfortably provide for ourselves. And I think that is one of the way that I would say that we are foolish in love. That we would take things and we wouldn't look at it. Now, look for me, I'm 48 years old. I just got to set a little boys in me in box, 23-year-old, 20. Will you feel a little 20-something-year-old go on with me? I've done 48. I done push out 4 children. I done throw away a set of the rest of them that I didn't want. I out of shape, ropey, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's not like I'm down in myself or anything. But as a woman, I'm full grown. I have my baggage. I have, you know, whatever. Why would a 20-something-year-old want to be with a woman like me? I can tell you why. Because they see a fucking BMW, they see a Allion, and they see a fucking Primo that they could fucking drive for free, but not me. Me hand tight more than me fucking body. Me hand tight more than me body. Let me tell you something. I ain't gonna encourage no relationship with some 20-year-old, not even a 30-something-year-old. Because at the end of the day, when you in my couch, Netflix and chilling with me cheering corn curl and fucking juice in you hand, I got to be out there fucking kicking it. I respect a man that has ambition. I respect a man that just go and get his own money, even if it's a little bit of money. He might not be able to make the amount of money that I just make at the end of the day, but I respect a man that earning his own money. You feel I want there with a man that living in his mother house? You feel that I want there with a man that living by some auntie, some uncle, and some cousin, and then he call you telling you, watch here now, I can pass, man, I want a $3,000 toilet paper in the house finish and nobody am buying back. Or you know, man, they got wash clothes, I got wash me clothes, and they use out me soap powder. That is instant turn off for me. Because you know what, I grew up with a great father figure, a man that was an engineer. My mother was a businesswoman, but that never stopped him one day from, you know, doing what he had to do to get what he got to get. And us educated women, that was one of our biggest downfalls. We would pick up anybody and live for love. And you know what ends up happening in the long run? Them men would dare with you until they build themselves to a point, and then it's bye-bye for fucking you. You could cry all you want. You could cry all you want. You could threaten to kill yourself. You could do what the fuck you want to do. They're gone away. Bye, bye, bye. And I see a lot of women going through this. I see men that they're with the wife for 20-something years, and the wife struggle with them. When I tell you struggle with them, even and straight the wife walking with them. Soon as they get a little car, you can imagine a thing like a car change a man's mind and make a man think that he on top of the world and he gone and he want fucking live with another woman. Left in his wife, he don't give a fuck about his children, he don't give a fuck about his home, he don't give a fuck about nothing. He just left and want his life. All of a sudden, life becomes about what he wants and not what his family needs. And a lot of times we educated women or we hard-working women are the one that get caught in the mother scone. And I tell myself, I have chosen men in the past based on, they have ambition and, I am not the kind of girl to give a man money. I don't like giving men money. You come and you ask me for money, 2 times me and your relationship fucking done. Hear what I love to do when I am with somebody. I love to, show men how to make money. Hey, you know what? You could do this hustle. You could do the hustle. I love that. I love when a man can be a man and you could, brethren, watch, pull in, we got a little hustle and whatever, and he could be man enough to take charge and to take hold of that and to make something out of that. That's what I love. A lot of people are of the impression that I mind man. I don't mind man. But of course, if I'm in a relationship with you and I buy a dress for myself, I can buy a shirt for my man. Because that's what women are supposed to do. If you're in a relationship with someone, it's not a casual thing where we just hooking up and fucking 1 time a week. If you're in a relationship with a man and the man looking out for you, you got to look out for the man. Say, if I shop for myself, I shop for the man. I shop for my children, I shop for my man. Right? So I'm that kind of girl. I'm not the kind of girl that you could come and, hey, I want a 200,000. Hey, I want the money for buy a car. Now fucking me. That's a fucking turn off. You can imagine if you asked me for money for buy a toilet paper and they turn me off much as money for buy a fucking car, me hand tight more than me fucking body. Trust me, man, I tell you though.
8 Butterfly Sea Moss Powder. Take your daily routine to the next level. Natural vegan superfood powder. Essential multivitamin powder made just for you.
Here are the bank accounts, folks. With all the number. This is a court document. This is public document. So nobody can leak this to Sloan Conway. God, they like to say things are being leaked. This is a filing in the High Court. It lists there all the companies, the names, Calvin Brutus, Andanika, Alicia, all that.
I believe that he will go down in the Caribbean as an officer of such rank to go down, to be implicated, rather, in this level of criminality.
I came here to listen, but what I heard is very disturbing, extremely disturbing. And so my comments, I stand and reaffirm the comments of my brother, Congressmember Jeffries. The United States will not tolerate racism in Guyana or any other country. And I also want the officials to know that if any harm comes to Rickford Burke, let me say that again. If any harm comes to Rickford Burke or anyone on this dais or anyone in this room,